Hey everybody, it's Dina Rico from the Creativity Cave, and I have two really awesome projects to share with you today, and I hope you're going to love them. The first is this beautiful watercolor rainbow card, and then this is a really fun strips of paper card. So both of these cards are made with products that you can purchase in my online store. I'll put a link in the description of this video. You can also head over to my blog where you can download a PDF for both of these projects so that you can create them yourself. Now, I love watercolor. If you know anything about me, you know that I love watercolor. So I've been itching to make a watercolor rainbow for a while. And so I've got some great tips and tricks on this card for you. And then we'll make this fun card as well, because I had some scraps sitting on my desk and I couldn't help it. So there you go. All right. So we're going to start with, a piece of watercolor paper. Now, this is actually the most important part of this whole process, is to have watercolor paper for your project. I'm also going to take my bone folder and use it as a guide for starting my rainbow. The trickiest part I've found in having a rainbow is getting an even rainbow. So I found a kind of a silly little hack, but it really has worked. Now for my color palette, I'm going to use some really pretty colors. I've got Coastal Cabana, of course, the color that lets us know God loves us, Granny Apple Green, Fresh Freesia, and some Night of Navy. So I love these kind of non-traditional colors for our color palette. I'm going to start with Fresh Freesia, and to get the ink, I'm going to squeeze the ink pad to the lid. If you can't do that, like you don't have the hand strength to do that, you can take a block, like a bigger block, and just dab ink on the end of it, and you can pick up the color that way. So whichever way works best for you, you can do. Okay, I'm going to start, and I'm going to load up my water brush, get the water flowing in here a little bit. I just dried it off pretty good. You don't want it like dripping water, but get a little water. There we go. Pick up the color, and then you can see I've just got my bone folder sticking up, about an inch on the end of my paper. And now I'm just literally going to swipe across and make my rainbow like so. Okay. And you can add color, you can leave color. You might want to touch it up, because like that will fix just a little bit there. You can see I've actually got a couple little spots where there's white. I'm actually going to leave that. I kind of like the look of it. If you want to add more color to it, you certainly can. I personally like an uneven color of watercolor. I think that's what makes watercolor fancy and pretty. Okay, so there's our first swatch of color. Now our next swatch of color we can do before this one's dry, so long as we leave a little space in between. We want to make sure that the colors don't touch, otherwise they can bleed together. So I'm just going to pick up some of this color, and I don't need my bone folder as my guide anymore. I'll use the strip that I just painted, and I'm just going to go across like this. And again, if I run out of color or have some little white marks on there, I'm okay with that. Okay, I'm cleaning my brush on a little rag. This is actually an old burp rag from when my kids were little. Next color is Granny Apple Green, so we'll pick that up and we'll paint this down like so. And you can see I don't have solid color, and I kind of like that. I just like that look. I think it's kind of fun and pretty. If you want to color it in, though, you can, because this is your card. It's okay. Okay. Next up, I've got my Night of Navy ink. I'm going to put a little bit more in there. You don't have to squeeze like super duper hard, just enough so that the ink pad touches the lid. That's all. It's not too hard. Okay, and then once again, we're going to go around with our Night of Navy. Like so. And again, I kind of like those areas where it's kind of white on there, so I'm going to leave those as is. Okay, so there's our rainbow. I love this. By the way, I think I'm going to spend the afternoon painting rainbows. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, so you can check out how you like the colors. If you want to add a little bit more for vibrancy, you certainly can. I'm going to leave mine as is. Now, my first couple colors are dry. Actually, the whole thing is almost dry. So as long as this is 100% completely dry, I'm going to do a little stamping on my Coastal Cabana layer. So I'm going to take that Night of Navy ink pad, and this time I'm going to take some little dots. These are dots from my Rainbow of Happiness stamp set, and I'm going to take and stamp these little dots over my rainbow to create kind of some fun additions to my rainbow. And so I love this little stamp. It just will go right along whatever kind of curve you have for your rainbow, which is so perfect. And these little dots are just the best. We've also got a few other pieces you can use. There's little lines, there's little drops, there's little hearts. So you can do whatever you would like to fill in your rainbow. I don't recommend doing too many. Like, you don't want one on every single one because it gets to be too busy. But that is how you watercolor a rainbow. Now let's make this into a card. So I've got, although I use Night of Navy ink, I thought that it coordinated with my Misty Moonlight cardstock a little bit better. So I chose that as my card base. So I just have a half a sheet of this. And again, that downloadable PDF over on my blog will have all the dimensions listed for you. And you can just click it up, print it off, and stamp your heart away. Okay, so I'm going to adhere this to my card. I like to use Stamp and Seal adhesive. It is my fave. And the piece of Fluid 100 watercolor paper is just a little smaller than my cardstock. So the Fluid 100 is 2 3/4 by 3 3/4, and this is 2 7/8 by 3 7/8 Coastal Cabana. I'm going to pop that, or actually first I will adhere this. Now I embossed this 4 by 5 1/4 panel of Misty Moonlight with some brick and mortar embossing folder. Not with some, with the brick and mortar embossing folder. Okay, and I'm going to pop that up right onto my card. Here we go. I was going to say, just as soon as I find my dimensionals. Okay, I love dimensionals. They are my favorite thing. And I love that all of the supplies I'm using can be found in one place in my online store. And of course, when you purchase products through me, you help me continue to offer these awesome video tutorials for free for you each week. All right, I've got that down. Now, I have a little scrap of my Fluid 100 paper. I'm actually going to use that to stamp my sentiment on here. I like using Fluid 100 paper because it's going to match versus like white or vanilla. And also Fluid 100 paper is kind of in between white and vanilla, so it's a little tricky from that standpoint in terms of matching. So I just like to use the same paper. And so I stamped that in Coastal Cabana. Now I will take my paper trimmer and just slice off about 1/2 inch. And that will give me this nice little sentiment. And then I will just trim the end so it's nice and even, and voila. So this is about 2 3/4 inch by 1/2 inch. Okay, we'll pop this up onto our card as well, and then we'll embellish, because every good card is embellished, let's be honest. And one of the embellishments that I'm going to use, oh, look at that, it's just so fun. Okay, one of the embellishments I'm going to use is my Clear Wink of Stella. That is actually one of my favorite embellishments to use. I'm going to spritz my card, so I want to close up my ink pad so I don't get any spritzing on my ink, and I'm going to move my other stuff out of the way because it's not super messy, but it can spritz places you might not want. So, okay, so I'm just going to tap this on something like my bone folder. And when I do that, I get little shimmer spritzes. It's hard to pick it up on the camera, but they're there and they're really pretty. So can you see some of those little droplets? It just adds a little touch of shimmer to your projects. Again, you might not see it, but in person, it's lovely. Okay, I'm also going to use my Artistry Blooms adhesive pack sequins. I love when stuff has adhesive on it already because that makes it easy to use. So I'll use my Take Your Pick tool. This is probably my most used tool. It is such a great little tool, and I'm just going to take and position some of these sequins on here. This pack comes with some pink and orange and yellow and kind of bluish colored sequins, which I just love. And so I'll sprinkle a couple down here and a few up here. I love putting these on in odd numbers. That's just my preference. I think it looks nice. So there you have it, a really beautiful card. Now stay tuned because I have another project to show you. This next card is really simple, and it was born out of scraps that were sitting together on my desk, left over from a project. So to start with, I'm going to use a Flirty Flamingo card base. So let me give that a good crease. I always like flipping my card over after I crease it with my bone folder, just in case there's any like shine on the back of the card. That gets rid of that. I've got 2 layers of cardstock, a 4 by 5 1/4 white and a 3 7/8 by 5 1/8 white. I'm going to take that slightly smaller piece, and then I'm going to adhere some strips. I know y'all have strips laying around from making your cards, right? So I just grabbed a few out of my, these were actually sitting on my desk when I was cleaning my desk, left over from a card, or I think a couple different projects that I had been working on. So I thought, ooh, I could do something fun with these. So I'm going to start by just putting these strips down on the smaller of the 2 white panels that I had. And I'm literally just going to attach them at an angle. Nothing special here. And I'm also going to maybe, if the angles aren't exactly the same lined up, that's okay. I took this strip. This was actually left over. It had embossing that I trimmed off of it. And so I kind of liked that. You could do a lot of different things with this. This is the Dotty Hearts embossing folders. There's polka dots and hearts, which are really fun. On here. And then let's see. So this is So Saffron, Pale Papaya. This is Flirty Flamingo. And again, each of these strips is a little different. I think this is just a little over an inch. This is just a little under an inch. This is, I think, about maybe under 3/4. And then I know my last one is about 3/4. Okay, so that's Flirty Flamingo. And then finally, we've got Petal Pink. And again, I'm attaching these a little teeny overlapping and not all necessarily at the same angle. So they're going to be a little different. You'll notice it once I trim this off. So I'll flip this over and just use my Stampin' Snips to trim these off. I love these. They're so sharp. So nice. So fun. And I love that this card was born out of leftovers just sitting here on my desk when I was cleaning things up. Okay, so here is our card, and you can see those kind of fun angles. Now, as I sat here, I was like, ooh, what can I do to dress this up? Well, I wanted to use some flowers on here, so I thought I would die cut some flowers. And so I used my iconic dies. These are gorgeous dies. They don't go with any stamp set. They're just kind of standalone set of dies, which are really fun. And as you can see, lots of different images on there. So I die cut, there's a little flower die, and you get 3 flowers out of 1 pass. Now, has this ever happened where your dies are stuck to your plate when you've die cut them? Well, here's what I do. I just take my Take Your Pick tool to get them off. It loosens them right off. They're not stuck on there permanently. They're just kind of stuck, I guess. I don't know how to say it. So anyway, I've got these beautiful little dies. So I thought I would kind of sprinkle them along the side of my card here. And then as I was doing that, I was like, ooh, I need a sentiment on this. So how am I going to put my sentiment down? And I thought, ooh, I could put it on black and emboss it with white, because you know that's one of my favorite techniques if you've watched me for very long. So I die cut this little circle out of some black cardstock, and I'm going to use that same Rainbow of Happiness stamp set. And one of the other sentiments in there is a little something to brighten your day. So I'm going to ink that up with some Versamark ink, stamp it down on my little black circle. Whenever I'm embossing, I like to cut the cardstock before I emboss it because I just think it works better. And then I'm going to grab my white powder, and then we'll heat this baby up like so. After I've got the powder on to melt it, give it a little flick. Cover this up so I don't have a situation on my desk. Sometimes that happens. Okay, now a little tip for you. Again, the Take Your Pick tool is so handy. Use either end and just hold it down like so. And then I'm going to heat this up with my heat tool. That way it doesn't blow around. Of course, everything else on my desk just blew around, but oh well. Since this is so small, it's really hard to hold it with your hands. I need to get like a little tweezers. I don't have one. Can you believe that? Okay, so now I've got my cute little sentiment on here. Of course I'm popping that up. I mean, hello. You knew that was coming, right? And I'll pop that up right here and add it to my card. And honestly, this would be cute just as is, but of course the flowers are just so adorable. So I'm going to add some flowers, and let me rearrange these back on here since everything blew away. Of course, I'm cheating because I have my original sample to help guide me, but something like that. Okay, so I'm going to use dimensionals to place these as well. This time I'm going to use mini dimensionals because they're just a little smaller to fit behind these little flowers, which is helpful. And so we'll just put these down like so. Now all the supplies will be listed as well as those dimensions on the PDF I mentioned for you. This is something brand new that I'm trying. And actually, I want this one. Oop, I don't want this one sticking up at all. Sorry. This is something brand new I'm trying. And if you like it, let me know. And of course, if you love it, shop my online store. Your support really does help because it does take quite a bit to put all of this together for you, but I hope that it will help you take a project like this and make it. If you are an avid stamper, I'm sure you have the supplies to make something like this, and I would love to see you making your projects. And of course, feel free to share your creations with me. I have a Facebook group called Stamping with the Creativity Cave. I'll put that link in my video as well for you. It's a great group where I post things I've created, as well as you can share your creations with me, because I want to see what you're making. Okay, now I've got some in color jewels that I'm going to use here, and just add a little glimmer shimmer. Now here's the other part I love about my Take Your Pick tool. It's got this tacky end, so I'm just squeezing that and then releasing it so it doesn't come all out. And then I'm going to just position a gem in the center of my flowers here. I'm using the larger ones on the popped up flowers, and then I'll use the small ones on the ones that are not popped up. And then I will add just another couple gems on here to kind of just finish things out and make them look extra nice. There's a little, like a cardstock fiber. There we go. Okay, so that looks really nice. Now, one of the things that I often get asked is, why do I put an extra layer of cardstock on my card? So let me show you why. So I can put this this layer of cardstock right on my card directly like that. But look at my sample. On this one, I have that extra little white layer. Now, doesn't that take this card and just make it look a little bit more, like a little extra, a little fancier? I love that part. And so I think that it really makes a difference. So that's why I put that little extra layer on, because it really just adds, it makes your card fancier. Okay, so I've layered that on, and then we'll stick it on my card here, and boom. So pretty. Oh my goodness. So I hope you loved my projects today, friends. If you could give me the thumbs up on my video, that helps me so much. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss any of the other amazing videos I put out each week. And thank you again. Let me know which card is your favorite in the comments below. Did you like our watercolor rainbow or our strips of cardstock? So thanks, guys. Have a great day. Bye.